This man was about to freeze to death, but instead of putting on a coat, he even took off his pants. In the end, he removed his underwear too. Eric curled up in the snow like that. He kept breathing warm air into his hands, but that little warmth did nothing. He was shivering all over. Yet even so, Eric had no plan to put on the clothes behind him. Instead, he looked at the plastic bag clutched in his hand and made a painful decision. He filled the bag with snow, then placed it in his arms. He prayed that in 2 hours he could drink the melted fresh water. But by evening the snow still had not melted, and none of his soaked clothes had dried. Eric was furious. He could not understand why he was so unlucky. Not only did he get lost while skiing, he also fell into the icy lake. But as he was complaining, he suddenly seemed to see something. Eric stepped forward in disbelief to confirm, and the next second he froze in place. A house that looked warm appeared on the peak not far away. After being trapped on the snowy mountain for 2 days, Eric finally saw hope. He cheered in the snow like a child. But his joy did not last long before the cold wind made him shiver again. Eric had no choice but to put on his wet clothes. Then he took his sled and prepared to head to the opposite mountain for help. But after only a few steps, a hungry wolf blocked his way. At first, Eric was not afraid of just one wolf. But then another wolf appeared. Eric instantly grew tense. He knew in this situation he had to strike first. So Eric raised the sled and charged at the wolves. That did scare the 2 wolves into turning away. Eric seized the chance to run the other way. But then he suddenly saw a whole pack of wolves ahead. Eric knew that if they spotted him, he would be attacked. So he dug a hole in the snow with the sled, then quickly hid inside. The next day, Eric drank the melted snow to regain strength. Then he checked the radio he carried, but it still showed no signal. Looking at the house in the distance covered by clouds, Eric set out with confidence, but the sun grew more blinding. After 3 days without food, Eric's vision grew blurry. Then a sudden wave of dizziness hit. He collapsed to the ground. He lay on the snow, dry, heaving. But after 3 days without food, his stomach was empty. All he could throw up was bitter bile. Finally, he lay weak on the ground. After a long time, he slowly stood up again. For the rest of the way, he kept his eyes shut to avoid dizziness. When he felt close to the top, he opened them, but the sight nearly made him faint again. There was no house at the summit. He quickly rubbed his eyes, telling himself it must have been the sunlight blinding him. But when Eric opened his eyes again, he realized the house he saw that night was just an illusion. The crushing drop from hope to despair was unbearable. He shouted curses at the mountaintop, then began pounding the ground. After venting his anger, Eric gradually calmed down. There was no house at the summit, but maybe he could find a signal. So he decided to keep climbing, not knowing this would be his only way out of the snowy mountain.